Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Jen.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going. It's just another day in real estate.
Oh, living the life, as they
Always,
say, right? Living the
always.
life. It's raining here. Is it raining down in Jersey,
No,
down in North
no,
Jersey?
not here. It's cloudy though. I think rain's gonna start rolling in some point today. Very humid and it's kind of gross. I don't like the humidity, but
Yeah, that's a good weather report. I don't,
yeah, isn't that
you
a good
know,
one?
it's a good day to just snuggle up with a blanket
Mm-hmm.
and just a hot cup of tea and a book and just say, the heck with it. That sounds
Yeah,
like a good idea.
it really does. You had to put that out there now.
Oh, but alas, that is not the case because there's stuff brewing and there's things happening and
Yes.
there's a lot of Reddit real estate disasters. For those watching this on YouTube, they get to see my pigeon dance. That's what
Yeah.
somebody on my live stream called it. They said, "Oh, my friend called that the pigeon dance."
Oh, I didn't even know there
You
was a
do the
name.
neck thing. You push your head out and you do
Yep.
the neck thing.
And you do that
Oh
well.
goodness! So can we talk about something before we dig in here?
Absolutely.
Why is it that we are tasked, especially as moms, we are tasked with the unbelievably frustrating chore of figuring out what's for dinner every night? Can I just tell you, if there's one thing that I'd change in my life, if a genie showed up with a magic lantern today and
Yep.
I had 3 wishes, one of those wishes would be I'd never have to think about what the heck I'm having for dinner tonight. I just hate it
I
so much.
I
Meal
would welcome
planning
that.
is overrated. I hate it.
I know. I would so welcome that. I really would because
Do you struggle with this? Do you struggle
every
with this?
every day, every day, and I go through the freezer. I'm like, "What can I defrost? What can I make with this meat?" I'm like, because I feel like I make the same stuff all the time. I am
Same.
I am excited that we're coming into fall. It's getting cooler because I like making the soups, the chilies, the stews, like the
Do you?
yeah, I do. I really do because I can throw them in a crock pot, let it sit all day, and
I always forget about the crock pot.
you gotta use a crock pot. It's crock pot
Mm.
season. It's crock
Crock
pot
pot,
season, Jen.
crack pot and sweater weather.
Yes, yes, I love it. So, maybe that'll be your solution. Get some good crock pot, recipes and, make a big batch of something and then, get your leftovers for the week
I
because
guess.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing yeah, it's
I feel like it was better. I feel like I was better at it when the kids were younger. You know what I mean? Like when they were
mhm.
younger, it was like, "Oh, we're gonna make sure that we have balanced meals during the week." And I'd sit down on Sundays and we'd map out and get groceries and make sure,
Yeah.
and all the things. But now the kids are like 22 and 17 and they're never home half the time
Yes.
and I'm
Yep.
like eating by myself and I'm like, I think I'm just gonna make a BLT.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
my life.
Yes. I hear you. I only have 3 people to cook for now, and it's like, yeah, I'm at a loss. So, yeah,
Yeah, you
I
know
get it.
what? That's gotta be my next part. He's my next partner. He's gotta be a golfer. He's gotta laugh at my stupid jokes. He's gotta put up with all my crap, and he's gotta be a good cook.
Yes.
Those
There
are the
you go.
criteria.
That's not much. You're not asking
Please
for a lot.
apply.
Yeah. You're not asking for a lot, Jen, you
I
know?
don't I don't think so, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking either, so that's another thing. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
I hear you. Totally hear you, my friend.
Oh, but you know what I am looking forward to is the escapism of hearing what you got cooked up for stories. It is an escape. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we've talked about this. It's like, why do we do this? But we have no expectations of this podcast doing anything, going
No.
anywhere, whatever. It's pure just fun for
Yeah.
us. And it's like it's an escapism.
It
It's
is.
like, just hear about other people's terrible situations, and I'm like, "Oh, I feel better about myself now. I
Yeah,
feel better about my life."
yes, same.
These poor people, some of them are just dumb, make
Yep,
dumb choices,
I
you
know,
know?
I
But
know, but it also makes us feel better too to, like, share our opinions and how we would've addressed the problem, you know? Like,
yeah, yeah, maybe we
maybe
can help, maybe
yeah.
maybe maybe intertwined. It's like putting, grated carrots in the spaghetti sauce. You ever do that when the kids were little? I used to do that all the time. You
Oh,
try to
no.
yeah, to sneak the vegetables in.
Oh
So
god, no.
that's kinda like what we do here. We're like entertainment, crazy stories, weave in the lessons, nobody knows,
That's true.
unsuspecting.
That's true. Oh
Anyhow.
my gosh. All right, my
So we
friend.
got a theme going on today or what? We got,
So here's the thing. A lot of the titles on these Reddit stories have nightmare in them. And
right?
yeah, I feel like this is all we get are nightmares. So pretty much every one of them that I found has nightmare in it. But the first one I want to talk about, because your channel is all about selling, your
Mhm.
regular YouTube channel. I have a story here from a first time seller and thought you would appreciate this one.
Oh
So
boy.
here, and the title is First Time Seller Realtor Nightmare. Love it. Here we go. Oh
That was for you,
no.
Jackie.
Thank you. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. Thanks. I'm so glad you didn't disappoint. You never
You know.
disappoint. So anyway, okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Figured I'd try to post here and see if I can get any tips. I've had an absolute nightmare of a time listing with the realtor company that I chose. They have horrible problems with communication, and it was hurdles to get the home on the market. Now that it's on the market, I had a terrible time getting the realtor to get proper photos of the home. The photos they had up were terrible. So I ended up taking photos myself and asking them to post only the photos that I have taken to the listing. Now that the new photos are up, we have had tons of new views and saves on the property. So I feel like pictures I took are working in my favor. However, the house has been on the market for 24 days and I haven't had a single showing. Zillow is showing 89 saves and around 1,200 views just on Zillow. And I'm wondering why that high of volume and saves, why I still haven't received any showing requests. I'm starting to wonder if it's the real estate company we chose. Does anyone have any tips on how to pull in potential buyers? On the 9th, I had all photos swapped to the photos I took, and I lowered the price by $5,000. The home is a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,500 square feet with partial finished basement. There's also an acre of fully fenced land, front porch and covered back porch. We listed it at 195, just dropped to 189.9. Do these things just take time? He has a side note. This home was used as a rental property for 2 years. The tenant started renting after we moved out and rented for 2 years. The home is in good condition, just in need of some cosmetic work. The major repairs that we made before listing was a repair to the French drains, a repair to the basement ceiling where tenants had not reported a bathtub leak. So we had to have the subfloor in the upper addition and some of the drywall ceiling in the basement replaced. Okay. So that's that post. So, Jen, this is a
Mm.
case of my house isn't selling. Let's blame the real estate agent.
I think this is the case of cancel the real estate contract and go
Well,
find another agent.
here's the thing. We're getting one side here, right?
Okay. Yep.
So, right. So let's take that into account. But yeah, the communication thing is what got me first. And like, why are you not? Let me go back and pull it up again. The communication and hurdles to get the home on the market. What took so long? And why was it such a hard time to get the real estate agent to get proper photos? Again, I don't know. I think there's something missing there, but
Well, the things that okay, so the red flags for me was bad communication right out
yep.
of the gate.
Yeah.
Obviously, pictures. I don't care what the price point is. The guy or gal is paying the real estate agent a good amount of money. I think
Right.
that's like the minimum standard in the real estate industry is to expect professional photography. It's not
Right.
expensive. That is something that regardless of the price point, like, that's a minimum, standard in today's in my opinion.
Mhm.
Uh, it the pro and granted, there are 2 sides because we don't know what the property looks like online, and I have
Right.
had clients where, in the past, it doesn't happen that often, but occasionally you get somebody that you just don't click with or whatnot, their expectations are way too high,
Mhm.
and, you know, the pictures come out and they're actually good pictures and they just want their own. They're like, "Oh, they're just not good. They're just they're just not they're not
Mhm.
the angle, or they don't understand why the pictures are taken the way they are." Anyhow, um, but the third thing is the the fact that you have 24 days with no showings, okay? We don't know every market in this country, obviously, right? But what we do know is in most markets, there is a shortage of inventory, right?
Right.
There's a shortage of inventory everywhere,
Yep.
which means every home, if it's priced properly, if it's presented properly, the price reflects the way it's presented,
Mhm.
there should be zero reason why you have no showings for 3 weeks.
Right.
That is just that's kind of inexcusable in my opinion. Now, if you start throwing in things like, it wasn't, I mean, it could be a multitude of things, but like, for some reason, if the pictures that they took were just terrible, or, or whatever, the price, who set the price? Did
Mhm.
the seller set the price? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I put a lot of this, and that I typically go down this route of it's the responsibility of the agent to carry the workload in making sure this stuff doesn't happen. I mean, yes, you're gonna have people that are stubborn and all the things, but, you know, if there communication, that's okay, take that off the plate. But if they weren't happy with the pictures and they were professional pictures, then the agent needs to explain to the home seller, "This is why these pictures are taken this certain way, and you're hiring me for this. Please allow
Mhm.
me to run the marketing."
Mhm.
Okay?
Right.
Period.
Yep.
Period. The
Yeah.
minute the client takes over, the agent is out of control. The agent's not steering the ship. The agent is not the professional in the room anymore. Period.
Right.
Like, that's what you hire us for. And if we're not doing our job and you can't trust us, then this relationship's not working. Um, and then, the 24 days on the market. I mean, if you have a price, if say the price was too high, that's what I think. The price is probably too high, and maybe
Mhm.
the agent didn't know how to price it, or whatnot. I don't know.
So
Yeah,
I'm reading some follow-up questions here,
yeah.
comments to the post, and hold on a minute.
I
Is
would while you're looking at that. So
Yeah.
so, these are all the things that it's like coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? If we had a time machine, we'd jump in a time machine and do it all different. You know what I'm saying? But what
Mhm.
does this guy do now? I would 100% go to the agent, cancel the contract, and then do it the right way. Interview 3 agents.
Right.
Interview 3 agents. Cancel the contract, okay, because they're not fulfilling. I mean, just lack of communication is grounds for canceling a real estate contracts are
Exactly.
easy to cancel. They're so easy to cancel, right?
Yep.
Uh, but I would get out of that contract, and then I would start from ground zero and get 3 referrals and interview these agents and do more homework, as much as
Mhm.
you can. I don't know.
Right.
That's what I would
S
proactively recommend.
According to their comments here, so the OP, went back and, gave a little bit more information. They said that they don't believe that the brokerage is a full service operation. The company we chose is across the bridge in Ohio, and the property is in Kentucky. The real estate company we went with is one of the only in the area that lists Kentucky homes. It's a smaller town.
Mhm.
The home is also not listed on Redfin, but is available on Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, and other MLS websites. I have considered an open house and also brought this up with the company, but it's like pulling teeth to get any sort of response from this company. We agreed on a price lower than what similar homes in the area were selling for, specifically to ensure a quicker sale on the property. He goes on to say, I'll reach out again and ask about an open house for the property. So somebody else commented, Jen, why you're not getting any showings. So they list a bunch of reasons here. The listing price is too high. The property needs maintenance. There's too much clutter and the property is untidy. Poor photography, poor
Mhm.
property descriptions and floor plan, weak real estate agent and agent picking the wrong buyers, unresolved legal issues. Huh, that's interesting. A reason why people aren't viewing a house. Okay. Missed the property market peak. The home is unconventional and too much competition. So these are reasons that people are
Hmm.
saying. This one person says this is why you're not getting the showings. But the fact that this is a smaller company that's not even in the market in that town, that's I think why they're kind of like they're disengaged.
Mhm.
The real estate company because they're in Ohio, this guy's in Kentucky. Um,
Yeah.
so
No, and you know what? And I think so I actually so as you and I both receive a lot of referral requests. That's the service that we provide,
yep.
people on our regular channels. People, we say, because we've both been in the business a long time, and we know how to snuff out, like, that 20% agent, as I call it, right? Like
Mhm.
80% of the agents are garbage in my opinion. And I think the percentage might be even higher than that,
Yep.
Jackie. Like this agent. But there are really, really, really good agents, like really good agents out there that will absolutely, you know, 100% deliver on what they're supposed to do and more for the same amount of money that you're paying a crappy agent. So people reach out to us for access to the agents that we've vetted out.
Yep.
And I've had a couple in Kentucky, and it's not easy. When I was initially trying to find an agent, and when I'm vetting out an agent, like, you do the same thing. Like, sometimes I have to call a couple. Like, I have my ways, my connections, of different groups that agents belong to, that kind of put them above this, the base level agent. But
Mhm.
it does require me getting on the phone and interviewing them.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing an agent. Interviewing an agent is like the best way to go, because I'm going to ask all the questions that a seller or buyer is not going to think of. So I ask them a lot of questions, not how many homes you sell and all the things. It's like, how do you approach this, and how do you approach that,
Right.
and all this kind of stuff. And it was not easy trying to find an agent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
I'm
there's
sure.
not a lot there's not a lot of real estate agents so I can understand that. I can understand, the challenge. But, this is like when we've talked about, like, going outside your area, like, we've talked about that, and how it's always good to find an agent in your local marketplace.
Mhm.
If you can't find a good agent, I would rather see you go outside your marketplace to get a good agent
Mhm.
than stick with a crappy agent that's in your market.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because the reality of it is like, you and I, like, I'm licensed in the entire state of Massachusetts.
Yep.
And now pricing might be a little bit more of a challenge, because I don't know, local areas and nuances of that, or marketing on the types of buyers and whatnot. But there's a lot of similarities in selling a property, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think that you've got an agent that's just outside the area, but who's a really 20% agent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. No,
I
it's
don't
worth
know.
it. It's worth it, get somebody outside, that's good. Because I agree with you. When you get outside your market, and listen, I'm licensed in all of New Jersey too, and people are like, "Oh, I want somebody specific to my market," and I support that, and I agree
Mhm.
with that. But
If you don't have a
it doesn't
choice.
it doesn't mean that I can go outside my market and somewhere else in New Jersey. I do, I know how to read the comps. I know how to research the neighborhoods to come up with the
Mhm.
proper pricing. You can do it. You can totally you can go outside your market and do it. And list
It
a
is
home
harder.
and have it's harder, but
It's hard.
you
It
can do
most
it and be
definitely is
successful.
harder, right? Because we gotta do more research to find out because it's not we
Oh
don't
yeah.
know that information like the back of our hand, but it's not
Yep.
impossible. I mean, let's be honest, you know, in the day and age that we're in now, oh my god, everything's available
I know.
online.
I know.
Everything's available. If I spent a Saturday afternoon, I could probably dig up everything I need to know
Yep.
about a town in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
In terms of data, because I know how to get the data.
Yep.
So, those nuances, of a local market, I think it makes sense. Again, and you and I have talked about this with, during COVID, during the
Mhm.
pandemic. Can we even say COVID? I don't know. Like, do we get censored if we say COVID? I think we have to say the pandemic. I don't even know.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Anyway,
that.
yeah, there was a thing. There was
Okay.
like, you can't say you gotta say pandemic, whatever.
Oh, jeez.
Anywho,
Okay.
but there was like everybody because it was so easy, like all these agents, and I loathed the fact that an agent, like if I got received an offer from an agent that was from out of town, because like they come in and they don't do any research.
I know.
0.
Yep.
None. Um,
Yep.
those types of agents are not 20% agents,
No. No,
you
they're the
know?
ones that got in and thought it was gonna be,
Yep.
easy job, easy money, and, yeah, they're just, like, writing offers without even physically seeing the house. But to add to that, talking about, like, working for representing sellers in different outside your market, I had somebody yesterday from Basking Ridge, New Jersey, which is about an hour from me, and the guy wanted me, he goes, "Would you be able to help me with selling my house?" And I'm like, I could, but here's the thing. I know somebody in that market that's excellent, that has had up to that's my standards, that works the
Mhm.
way that I do. Because I said, if I was to list that, you're an hour away, it's going to be a challenge for me. I mean, I can
Mhm.
list it and sell it. I'm sure I can sell it in a heartbeat. I can research that market and, do it. But, I'm also realistic too. I don't want to I don't wanna, like, divert any attention away from it because, the whole travel thing, and then I have to plan to make the trip down there, and it's just I don't know, it was challenging.
Good
It
on
just
you,
it's
Jackie.
challenging to get down there, and I'm like, "You know what? If I have somebody that's really good like me, I'd rather you work with them because
You know what? I
they're right
can't
there."
I hope those that are listening really understand, like, the fact that, Jackie, you are you put the client first. You
No,
put the
always.
consumer. He's not your client.
No.
He's not your client. You're not working for him. You put the consumer's needs before your own.
No, yeah.
Like,
And
and I'm
listen,
not saying like you as like I know you. I know that that's like, but the fact is like that's what's different about a 20% agent. That's what's
that's
different because you
exactly
could
it.
easily you'd be like, "I'll just take the
And
money. I'll
yeah,
just take the money."
yeah,
And yes, that seller would say to you, because I've had that exact same situation, and they're like, "Jen, it's okay if you're never here. It's okay if I'll do some of the work because I know it's a hardship for you, but I just really wanna work with you." And it's like, "Okay, so that's super nice of you, but it's really not in your best interest."
that's exact and you know what, Jen? This was $1,000,000 listing too. And I'm like, you know what? I could have been like any agent, and I know there are a handful of agents that I know in my market that would travel that hour or more
Yep.
for that listing. And I'm not about that. Like you said, I'm about the consumer and you as well. We are all
Oh, I
about
don't do that.
what's in the
No,
consumer's best interest and what's gonna fit their needs.
I
I'm
turned
not
away a referral last week from an agent. An agent reached out to me and said, "Hey, I got a referral for you, a listing referral." Um, and it was outside my normal coverage area.
Yep,
And I mean, it wasn't an hour outside, but it was far enough outside that I mean, I have my boundaries, but it was in a town that I don't even remember the last time I did business in this town. You know
yep,
what I mean? That I don't know anything. I mean, I know the town, but I don't spend any time there. I haven't listened to property there in probably 15 years.
yep.
Like I said, I am not the agent for you. I'm not the agent for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'd love the business. Absolutely love the business, but
Yeah.
I'm not the right agent.
No, no, but but there are those that will, that'll make the trek, and good on them. But I just think it's creating more problems if you're not close enough by, if you're not in that market, and dealing with the agents in that market too. The one,
If
when
you
you're
have a choice, like if the seller has a choice, like in your case, the seller had you know an agent that you could refer them to,
Yep.
right? But like if you're in the middle of Kentucky and all you have is crappy agents around you, but if you go a little further, do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think
in that
that
case, you
that's a
might
different
have
story.
to. Yeah, you're gonna have to go outside. Yeah, so that's our point. In the cases, in those cases, yeah, you have to go outside, or do for sale by owner.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
on
I
Zillow.
mean,
Put it on Zillow. You already took your pictures. Go it alone and see what happens.
yeah, I mean,
You
it's
know?
not a bad you know what? It's not it depends on the savviness of the seller
True.
and handling negotiations with the buyer,
Yep.
and things of that nature. Um,
Yep.
you know, even, um even hiring an agent that is, at a discounted rate, I mean, he could
Mhm.
potentially do that and say, "Hey, listen, get an agent that's outside the area and be like, "Hey, I just need guidance with negotiation or something or whatever. Will you work for less money? You don't have to show the property, you don't have to do the
Yep.
marketing, just I need guidance with the process.
Mhm.
Will you do it for, 1% or something?"
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's always not, hey, it's all, everything's, you can be creative with this stuff,
Yeah.
so that's not a
Alright.
bad idea there, Jackie.
Well, thanks. I have good ideas every now and then, Jen, I try.
Every now and
Alright.
then.
So on to the next nightmare. You ready? I swear every title has nightmare in it.
Really?
Y Really? Oh,
Oh, let's go.
it's gonna be an hour of sound effects. I love it. Okay, this one's a little lengthy,
A
so
few moments later.
buckle
Sorry.
in, my friend. You ready for this one? Okay.
Go ahead.
Title is I've owned my first home for 24 days and it's been a nightmare. Here we go.
24-day nightmare.
24 days. Okay. If you are reading this, thank you. I've been in this first time homebuyer group for a couple of years now. I've read all the horror stories, the good stuff, the bad stuff, and realized no matter what you buy in the end, you can end up with surprises. Well, it happened to me. I'm 24 days into this home and it's slowly sinking in how screwed I was. At the
Oh,
final
no.
walkthrough, I knew it wasn't quite right. And there was a part of me that said, don't do it. But all the work everyone did to get to that point, including myself, I signed the papers. Let's see let's see how to the point I can get with what's happened since I took ownership. I did not skip inspections either. Okay, good. I'm glad they put that out there in the beginning because that's the first thing that was going through my head. Okay. Night night 1, loose water. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I lose water. I can't read. He
Like
spelled
loose water.
lose. He spelled lose as spelled lose. Okay. Night 1, I lose water. Power is still on in the house, but since everything is new to me, I can't quite figure it out. I flip the breakers and the main, no water. Some electric. I go to pump. Oh my God. I go to the pump house and no pressure in the pressure tank. So I think it's a switch. Nope, switch is fine. I'm in the r I'm in the rain messing with the stuff and it gets late. I call it and go to bed. Next morning I wake up, do a little walk to see the area, meet a neighbor who offers up here brother and dad to come have a look. Other neighbor comes over and they do all the things I had done. Well, time to call the septic and well guy. He comes on a Saturday afternoon, does some looking at electrical, and finds that I'm only bringing in 120 volts. So it's a power thing. He has me turn off the breaker, tells me to call the energy company, which I did. Energy guy shows up, determines 240 volts is coming to the house just fine. Also has a look at my box and does another test that shows 240, not 120. He flips the main and tells me to check the water. The water is on. We think powerful storms knocked it out and it took a little longer to reset. I've had no issues with the water since. Okay, so problem one's been resolved. Okay, then I go to leave the day after closing to do final pack up and move. I walk past the old propane tank, catch a tiny whiff of propane. I call to change over the account and tell them this. It sets off emergency response. I find out that the old tank was leaking, as was the regulator. The propane system had to be shut down. The propane guy also informed me that the regulator was in an enclosed housing along with the electrical components. Literally could have blown up. My inspector did not catch this. Okay, propane guy comes and fixes things, good to go. Then I have a roofer come to have a look at some repairs I needed, which I knew about. But he says the repairs are not that bad, but the roof needs to be completely redone. I knew this was a possibility. $15,000 ish. The other thing I haven't mentioned is that there were some sloped floors that I asked the inspector about. How bad was it? He said the crawl space was bone dry, didn't need a vapor barrier, and the floors were due to long term settling. It was not flagged as a defect. Ever since I've been in the house, it seemed like the floors get worse by the day, sinking and bowing. I meet and chat up the neighbors that have been there for 20 years. He proceeds to tell me that they offered him the house, but he wouldn't buy it. He would have tore it down. Then he tells me that the selling agent wouldn't list the place until the floors were repaired, which I thought they were. It's what I was told. But neighbor says a guy came over, jacked up the middle 2 inches in one go. There was cracking in the drywall, which they patched up. I assumed this was done a little while back, but it turns out it was only a couple of months before my accepted offer. It rains hard today, and I see that there is standing water slash flooding in front of the garage and on the side of the house, the side that is sinking. Now it becomes clear to me what is going on. They didn't handle their gutters and water management, and now the ground and foundation is showing it. I have a sure dry guy coming in tomorrow. I'm scared as hell. So scared. I'm envisioning dry rot beams and subfloors that all have to be pulled out and the place needs to be rebuilt. I'm so livid. My inspector did not flag these major issues, and it seems that the selling party was not forthcoming about almost everything with this place. I would even argue that I was lied to. The real estate condition report has multiple lies on it. There was no mention of any remodeling or any work done on the structure that would affect safety or value. They also neglected to mention 5 dead trees in the front. The house was for sale before the leaves. Oh, okay. So this happened before spring. They did know this is an issue. They had taken down several already. So they took several trees down already. The neighbors said the garage had flooded, and I wrote it off. But after seeing the rain today, they might be telling the truth. Another thing never mentioned. The people I bought it from are the original owners. So they are the only other parties responsible for the state of this house. But I feel like I got screwed over hard, and I'm only 24 days in. What will another day bring? Oh, I haven't mentioned yet the 2 windows in the back have dry rot and a hole to the elements, which I just foamed up to seal it. There is also an old wall AC unit that looks like water got in the wall and is dry rot as well. I have no idea what extent of damage that was done. I am honestly scared that they built this place with no permits at all, and I doubt any work they had done otherwise was also not permitted. Who is supposed to look into that process? What is even more scary that I was told that it was the county building inspector who did the jacking and cracking of the house.
Oh my
I
God.
feel dicked over. I feel dicked over at so many levels, and sometimes I want to curl into a ball and cry. This home is supposed to be such a happy thing. It just makes me so frustrated and trapped. You let your guard down and trust people only to be disappointed. I think the home buying process failed me. I trusted my inspector too much. Oh, day 3, carpenter ants appeared inside and out. Had to pull up stuff out there. It seems better now. I suspect I'm going to need to have a chat with the real estate attorney after the sure dry guy comes. But any words of wisdom or guidance? I'm absolutely ashamed that I got myself into this situation, and this could literally break me. I'm not made of wealth, and this is a major stretch to get here and have a place of my own. I feel so disappointed with the process. I'm hoping I find myself hoping for a tornado to come take it out. Then insurance can build me a new one. All right.
Oh,
So that was
man.
a long story, Jen,
Wow.
but
Gosh.
where the hell was his agent?
Yes. This is like a classic crappy agent
Please tell me you used a real
situation.
estate agent. Like, I mean,
Ah, man.
why? Okay. Can we talk about the
Yeah,
permit?
they did have a disclosure. So
They had a
they're
disclosure, but
well,
they didn't
disclosure would have
disclose.
been on the seller side. Actually, he didn't mention his buyer agent at all, did he?
No.
So maybe
So I
he
wonder
didn't
if
have
he
an
just
agent.
bought this on his own. So if that's the case, this guy bought this on his
Mm.
own, you wouldn't be in this freaking mess because he would have
Oh, god.
known
Okay.
you can request a building permits. You go to the town and you request all those things. Like he
Okay.
obviously didn't know that. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
PSA. First time home buyers listening to this, do not buy a house without a buyer's agent. Make sure it's a 20% buyer's agent.
Yes.
Interview 3 agents, get yourself a 20% agent. Do not buy it. Don't try to do this alone just because the talk of the town now is the commission and oh, the buyer's got to pay the commission. A good buyer's agent will make sure that that is negotiated into the contract. So you're not going to have to come up with
Mhm.
the money.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
That I am very confident in saying that because it is happening everywhere across the country. But there's no mention. I mean, oh boy. Where do I start?
So okay, so Jen,
Jeepers.
this person did have an agent. I'm just scrolling through the
They
comments below, and
did.
people are going, did you have a seller's agent? Like what,
I
and
mean,
who
a buyer's agent.
or buyer's agent, whatever. Some people say I need to hire a buyer's agent, my own inspector, my own yeah. No, they did. They have it, they had a buyer's agent and they picked out this inspector. He didn't choose the real estate agent's recommended inspector. He picked somebody else. So yeah.
Which,
Uh-huh.
you know what, is sometimes a good idea. But where did he get the name of this other guy?
Exactly. He doesn't say. Uh yeah.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
the thing is that, I mean, regardless of whether you go with an agent recommendation or your own recommendation or your friend's recommendation, you still should do some due diligence with
Mhm.
checking the Better Business Bureau, finding out how, what's the, is he licensed? Does your state have licensing and,
Yeah.
what is his licensed? How long has this guy been licensed?
Yep.
How many inspections has he done? That kind of stuff. It's almost like, it seems like we talk and hear all the time about inspection nightmares, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm thinking that in this process, I mean, unfortunately, people say, all the time, what's the big deal? Especially this conversation comes up all the time lately. Why do I even need a buyer's agent? It shouldn't. Why is it so complicated? Why is it so complicated? Well, you know what? It is what it is.
Yep.
You're not buying a car. You're not buying a TV. You're not buying a computer. You're
Right.
buying a house,
Mhm.
and the reason why it's complicated is because all of this crap can happen
Yep.
if you're not careful, and what I'm
Exactly.
thinking is that home inspectors, just like any other contractor, you should maybe have a conversation with them. I mean,
Mhm.
I have never had that happen, but maybe it should.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I
I
think
mean,
so.
I think in our, the way things are, go when you're buying a house, yes, the process is like when you get that offer accepted, now it's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things to do.
Mhm.
If you're getting a mortgage, you gotta, meet with the lender. You've got to schedule your home inspection. You've got to work on whatever disclosures are required by your state.
Yep.
Some states like Massachusetts, we have an offer and then we have a purchase agreement right behind it. So we've got to get that started on the review as well. Like there's a lot of things going on. So it's easy for a buyer to be like, hey, I trust my agent. Who do you usually use? Okay, I'll just use that guy.
Right.
And that happens all the time. I mean, I have a guy that I trust, right?
Yep.
Is he
Me
perfect?
No,
Nope. Does
no,
he make mistakes? Everybody, he's human. He's
exactly.
human, which
Yep.
means yes, right? Does that has he ever done anything to uh, you know, um that makes me distrust him or change that? No. Okay. But that being said, like from a buyer's perspective, from a consumer's perspective, maybe have a conversation. Check with the Better Business Bureau, all that thing, like the behind, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that there's a lot of faith because a lot of this stuff, maybe not all, like the propane leak could have happened after they closed. Like stuff like propane leaks, that just can pop up. Like that stuff,
Mhm.
it might have been fine and then it's not, you
Yep.
know. But things like the flooring and the roof and the dry rot and the AC dry rot and that's all stuff that should have been seen.
That
That's
should have been
easy. That
ab
stuff is not, I mean, you have a crawl space, doesn't sound like he has a basement crawl space.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, my home inspector, his name's Mark. He's a good guy. He's a short guy. He's 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 a jolly guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
hear you.
he's not a small guy.
Yep.
He's not ginormous, but does he love going to crawl spaces? No. But does he do it? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
You
because you
have
have to.
you have to do that.
You have to do it, and
Yeah.
he's even said, like, the company that I go with that he works for, they ask, what type of a basement and stuff like that. I've had, and we don't have too many crawl spaces here and where I live,
Yep.
but, we do have a couple towns that are closer to the Cape that do have, smaller converted cottages with crawl spaces, and if he knows ahead of time, to be honest, he brings a second person. He brings his adult son who's training to be a contractor and has him crawl in has him be his eyes and ears
Yep.
just because he can't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
that's cool.
prepared, just
Yeah.
prepared. But all this stuff, I mean, the fact that the real estate disclosure, there's no mention, well, I would like, I mean, I hope this guy is documenting everything. And that would be my other thing that I'd say to people is that, you need to document everything. Stuff like this starts happening, pictures, video, writing, journaling,
Yeah.
document everything so that
Yep.
if this does go down the legal path, you've got everything all lined up because some of this stuff, this didn't just appear after
Right.
close.
Right. Yep. And the
Mm,
poor guy. Poor
I
guy.
feel so bad
I
for
just
this
hope
guy.
I hope it turns around, you know? That would
Well,
things get
even and oh, the other thing I was going to say is there's on the permits. Okay,
why
that's a
didn't
oh, okay. So when you have a house that is I go online and like the permits are all on most towns in my area, they're available online with with the town hall,
Right.
right? I mean, you have to make a request, but they email you the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, same here.
Uh,
Yep.
especially if the house is older and has had work done. Like that,
Yeah.
hands down, you need to check the permits.
Yeah,
Hands down. Like that's just
absolutely.
something like that's on the real estate agent, even if so I understand a lot of real estate agents won't go to the town because they don't want to be liable if they don't ask a question on behalf of the buyer or whatnot. They will say, I recommend that you do this
Mhm.
because just, I don't I want, to basically for liability for themselves, which I can understand to a certain degree in certain situations.
Yep.
But at least have the conversation with the guy and be like, "You should probably go downtown and check the permits."
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
so yep, so that was an 80% agent right there because they
Yes.
didn't do their due diligence. So, listen, just so speaking of permits, a couple I'm working with right now, they're under contract, they're buying a house, and, the attorney that we work with, she does all the permit pulling. She goes to the town and gets all that, and come to find out, it came back that they had a decommissioned oil tank, and it was removed. It didn't
Ah,
get taken, but it was removed. But here's the thing.
I had that situation last year.
They should, but
Yep.
the thing is, the sellers were not upfront with the presenting that paperwork. When that should have been disclosed right from the get go. So now
Or
this came back, and now so now they're scrambling to pull that paperwork because what I'm sorry, let me step back. So the owners of this house, they weren't the ones that removed the oil tank; it was the prior owners. Now, how did they not know that or put that in a disclosure? Because when you bought that house, it showed up then that the house had an oil tank removed. Why don't you have access or have that paperwork handy? They should have had that. So,
do you guys have mandatory disclosures in New Jersey?
yeah. Well, now we
Okay.
do. Now we have
Yeah.
mandatory disclosures. So, I mean, that's
I mean,
that was a big one right there.
not that the act of disclosing, but I'm talking like an actual the document, like the seller is required to fill out the
Yeah.
disclosure
Now
document.
it
Okay.
is. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
Massachusetts is not. It's not mandatory
No,
in
it was never
Massachusetts.
until August 1st of this year, they made it mandatory now that you have to.
Ah,
So,
interesting.
it was
Interesting.
yeah, so I was very surprised when that came back that they had an oil tank removed off the property, and, we're like, why did you not know?" Like, "And how did you buy this house?" Because I think these people lived in the house maybe, I don't know, 15 years, but even back then, you should have known. Whoever was
Well, maybe,
representing you,
maybe
they should
not.
have pulled that, but
Maybe, maybe not. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I had the exact same situation, literally earlier this year. I had
Yep,
the exact same situation.
okay.
My folks were in the property about roughly around the same amount of time,
Yep.
right? The buyers, the home inspector was going through the house and noticed two little um, pipes that were bent off coming through the foundation wall from the outside into the basement.
Mhm.
And he said, "Those look like old oil fill lines."
Mhm.
And I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, the seller didn't mention anything about that." So I checked with the seller, and so I was like, "I have no idea." Like, no one said anything to us about it. We had no idea, and all the things. I had to dig to find the permits. I had to actually the town hall didn't have anything. Okay. I had to go to the fire department because the fire department here, anyways, the fire department has to inspect the oil tank removal and then sign off on the
Oh,
permit. Yeah.
really? Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, it's very interesting. But so I went to the fire department. The fire department had the document that the seller had taken it out like 10 years prior to them buying it.
Okay.
And there was no 21E issue where, a oil leak or anything of that nature. Uh, but it wasn't something that came up because it was like, "Oh, it was done, it's passed, it's like a repair." It should have been disclosed, but there was
Yeah.
no reason for it to be disclosed because it's not a standard, "Hey, have you ever had this?" And so they had no idea. Now, thankfully, we were able to, like, just document it and get
Mhm.
yep, it's been properly permitted, it was removed properly, blah, 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 everything's all signed off and all the things, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But my folks had no idea. Like, their inspector didn't ask about the pipe sticking out of the concrete with that was bent over.
S
They didn't ask.
So, okay. Well, now let me ask you, do you do, tank sweeps? Like, do the inspectors up there do tank sweeps, or you have, like, a
What's a
separate
tank sweep?
environmental come to look for an oil tank? They sweep the yard with the metal detector, and they to
Mm-mm.
see if there's an oil tank or any metal.
No.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
is that part of a regular
oh,
inspection?
yeah, yeah, so
Oh, really?
a lot of the home inspectors here offer that as an extra service. It's a tank sweep. They just go around the property, like where the oil tank would typically be buried, whether it be in the front of the yard or in the driveway, and they scan it with the metal detector to see if it's positive for, like, an object or possibly a tank.
Interesting.
And yeah, or you can call in an environmental company to do it. But the attorneys here in Jersey, they make every buyer do it.
Wow.
It's $150, $200. Do it. Listen, I
Yeah.
sold a house 4 years ago or 3 years ago. No, it's 4 years ago. And it was same thing what you're describing with your sellers with the 2 pipes coming out of the wall. Like, our sellers knew that, like, they told us because I was listing with another agent. So they told my friend and I that, yeah, there was an oil tank. It was removed, but then during the home inspection, they did a tank sweep anyway. Okay, fine. It's your
Mhm.
prerogative. But something came up. Something was registering on the metal detector, and it was in the back of the house. And we're like, what the heck is it? Oh, yeah. P.S. It was an abandoned, oh, it was an old abandoned septic tank. And from years ago, years ago. And the
Yep.
prior owners, same thing, never knew about that.
Well, that's a
So,
regular occurrence here. That's
really?
yes. So, we have a lot of properties where the septic tanks, depending on where the new septic is going, if you have a larger lot
Yep.
and the septic is going in a different location, they will often, because septic tanks typically are, made out of concrete, right?
Right.
And they drain it, they fill it with sand,
Yep.
and they abandon it.
Yep.
And they do that with cesspools, so back
Yep.
in the 30s, well, probably, 40s,
Mhm.
50s, homes were
Yep.
built with cesspools. Cesspools are illegal here in Massachusetts. Can't
Yep.
It's an automatic failure if the property has a cesspool. And the same thing. If it has
Yep.
a cesspool, if it's the only time they will excavate is if there is, an environmental concern, or it encroaches on the area where the new septic system is going. But otherwise, they will just drain it, fill it with
Yeah.
sand, and abandon it, and it
Yep.
just sits there underground.
Yep.
And it's not made out of material that's gonna harm the environment.
Yep.
It's all environmentally friendly materials. It's all
Yeah.
natural materials that it's made out of. So they just leave it. But
Yep.
yeah, so that's like sometimes I'll see a property on an older property. I'll be walking on an older property and I'll see concrete covers or something, and it's like, and I have to ask, is that the current one or the old one? And
Mhm.
because sometimes they're not buried very deep.
Right.
So
Yep. Interesting. So I think
yeah,
anyway, so that was a fun one. Long story.
poor guy.
So very poor. Yeah, very,
What would
very
you
sad.
do in a situation like that? Like if that was somebody that you knew, I mean, what are his I don't think he has
I don't think he has recourse. I really don't. I mean, eh,
no.
I
I mean,
you
I think
know?
he just has to, like he has to fix what he can fix. It's gonna be a long
Yeah,
road to
I know.
just and just like he's gonna just have to chip away, chip away, chip away. Tough life lesson, and just, I mean,
Mhm.
the the only thing that really concerns me out of all those things
What's
is
that?
the fact that the house was jacked up in 2 inches.
Uh-huh.
2 inches is substantial
And
on
it
a
was done by
house.
the guy from the building
That's
department. Like, what
that's
the hell?
substantial. I mean, you risk structural integrity
Uh-huh.
on everything at that point, like, at
Yeah.
2 inches?
Yeah.
That scares me
Yep.
because if the thing is when you jack up a house, you and we see this a lot in the older, the areas in of town, that may have fieldstone foundations that are just seen better days, and whatnot, and maybe it's a preventative measure. But when you jack up a house, you put in another jack stand, and the jack stand is different than a lolly column, right? So the lolly columns are those big, you know um they're made out of like cast iron,
Yeah. Did you see
filled
in the
with
basement?
concrete.
Yeah,
Yeah, in
yep.
the basement, yep.
Yep.
And they're put in when the house is built. Well, when you are jacking up the house, you can't add another one of those unless you're gonna dig out the basement floor, or you know what I'm saying? So they put
Mhm.
jack stands in, right? You've seen jack stands before, and they're
Mhm.
basically like a lolly column, except it has like big pegs, big metal pegs, and you jack it up, you put the peg in, but a lot of them have you can fill them with concrete, so it becomes a permanent fix.
Right.
But the point I'm making is they look different. They look different.
Yeah.
Even on a crawl space, you'd have jack stands. They would look different than your typical foundation.
Mhm.
How do they miss that?
That's a
And
that's a
if they
great
jacked it
question.
up 2 inches and didn't do that, like, maybe he, like, shoved some cinder blocks, which I've seen before, shoved some
Uh-huh.
cinder blocks in there, like, that would still stick out, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, feel
Mm,
bad for this guy.
I
So,
know.
all right. On t
Anyhow.
on to the next nightmare. You ready? We're just rolling
Oh
with them
my
today.
goodness. I'm gonna go downstairs and, like, look at my foundation after this just to make myself
Seriously,
feel
right?
better.
Now, right? Does some of these stories make me paranoid? I'm not gonna lie. So, anyway,
Well, just being in this business, I honest to God, like, I feel like I had my 'cause I have well water, and I had my well pump was acting funky.
yep,
My water pressure was acting funky for a couple months, and I'm like, I need to get somebody out. And so I had the well guy come out, and thankfully it was just the switch. Thank God.
good.
I didn't need it wasn't an
That
expensive
could have
repair, but
been, yeah.
he's like looking around and all the kind of things. And I very much like, me, I'm like, if I see something that's broken, I fix it right away.
Yep.
Right. And all the things. And especially I go to a home inspection and I'm like, oh geez, I gotta check that at my house.
Yep.
And then I fixed it. But,
Yes.
but he was
Yes.
like looking around, he's like, "Wow, I wish every basement was like this." And I'm like, "Yeah, well,
Yep.
I have nightmares in my head if I don't do it."
Yeah. For real. For real. Oh my god.
Proactivity is a thing, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, it does pay off, but,
Yes, it
you know.
does. All right, my
All
dear.
right,
Let's
what you got? What you
all
got?
right, so we get another home buying nightmare.
All
Okay.
right,
Here we go.
because one
Another
isn't enough.
because one isn't enough, Jen. It's a theme for today. One nightmare is just not enough. All
Oh
right.
my goodness.
Um,
Halloween is right around the corner.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, I'm gonna have
So
to get some new sound deck.
oh, yes, you are. Look,
Making a note of that.
okay, good. Make a note of that and get working on it.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Here we go. Bought a home where the seller disclosed having water in the basement for the very first time from an extreme weather event just this year. Wife and I interpreted this as a known event to us where we had wait, do this again. Wife and I interpreted this as a known event to us where we had 5+ inches of rain in a very short period of time. Had an inspection done where some siding issues came up, but everything else looks great with no signs of water in the basement. Less than 2 weeks after closing on the home, we had an inch of rainfall where water started coming in the basement slowly, followed by a break for a few hours, then an additional 2 inches overnight. Woke up to over a foot of water in the basement where water
Oh,
flowed in our water heater and furnace, where both have confirmed to be junk now. Okay, so water came in. Lovely. From speaking to the owner, they had put in a DIY dry well right next to the home with no access point, and the lowest drain feeding into this dry well started backing out into a low-lying drain right next to the basement, which we presume started the issue where water seeped into the basement from where the basement walls meet the floor, then got high enough, it started pouring into a doorway with a 1 foot lip above the drain. We got our hands on a pump, but water continued to pour in from both the basement, and no matter how much we pumped out the drain, outside water would fill back in within 5 to 10 minutes. Here we
oh,
are more than
gosh.
72 hours after the rain stopped, and while the water level from the problem drain is dropping, it still fills up with a few inches of water, and our basement also fills in with about inches of water itself. The last few days, we put the pump inside this drain and it greatly slows down the water getting into the basement. Already have a quote of $16,000 to put in a new combined hot water and boiler system and a contractor coming today to look at the drainage issue. But I assume we need a drain tile slash French drain to to dig up the dry well they put in. We live in a state where it is up to the buyer to find issues with the home, but we feel the disclosure was misleading, saying he had water just at one time and did not go into detail that water continued to come in for about a week, according to the neighbor next door. They had to know the dry well they put in had failed or is not draining from being clogged. Do we have a case? Do we have a case at all, or are we on the hook for the siding issues we initially found and now 40,000 ish to address water issues and have a new boiler? Oh God.
Mm, I feel like this
Uh,
is a familiar story.
I've heard this before too. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. I think they don't have a case. They don't because you.
Mm. Yeah, it's I think what okay, so if you have regular water penetration in the basement, right? You have right it's a something that's happened even on a one-time event,
Yeah.
there would be stainings on there would be evidence
Yes.
on the walls. There would
Yep.
be evidence on the walls. There would be, I mean, whether it's concrete or cinder block, doesn't matter. A concrete poured foundation. Concrete is porous,
Yep.
right? Water
Yes.
finds a way. Water
Yep.
will find a way through concrete, and which means if you've had any type of water in your basement, all you need to look is that's the first thing I do when I walk through a house and we
Yeah.
go into
You
the
look at the
basement,
stain.
I look at the walls.
Yes.
I look at the walls and I look for any kind of staining,
Yep.
efflorescence, which is the little
Yes.
white powder residue that water leaves behind,
Yep.
um, and that is a that if what the neighbor is saying is true, unless the sellers went back and painted the walls, which is
It's
totally
very
misleading.
likely. High,
Um,
very, very likely. Yep. Yep.
but that's a tough thing to prove. Like
Yeah. You
that's
can't.
a really that's a that I think a judge is gonna say, you know what? Like, you know, it's a natural event and that sucks, but the seller can't be held liable
Yeah.
for future events. Not saying
True.
that the seller's off the hook for not disclosing and maybe the seller lied 100%, but the event itself, do you know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
event itself, you can't and you can't anticipate, like, something that's gonna happen like that, and it's that for that reason, I think it would be a hard thing to prove.
Yeah, it's hard to prove, and the other thing is they had a home inspection done. So if it wasn't picked up on the inspection as a defect, they never saw it, then they got nothing to stand on.
No.
If that report is showing that there was no evidence of water and, basement was dry, all that stuff, they're kind of screwed. So yeah. Yeah.
Why do they have water in the basement? Why
Why
did they have water in the basement? Like, how did it get there in the first place?
from a rainstorm. That's what it
Right, but
says.
why? Just because I mean, it rains here, it's raining now, I don't have water in my basement. Do you see what I'm saying?
So
You have a
I'm just
basement. Why don't you have water in your basement every time you have a rainstorm?
right, because there's something
There's
going on there.
something
There's something else
exactly.
going on. There's
There's
something
something
going
else
on there.
going on. So what is
Yep.
the reason for the water?
So now they're gonna go back and spend money on that to have that whole thing
Mm.
evaluated and corrected.
Because all
Um,
I've heard in the story is all the preventative. But
yeah,
if you don't like or I should say the reactive, it's all reacting to the water.
yep,
But the real the you have to attack and fix the reason for it in the first place. Now you can't make it not
exactly.
rain,
Yep.
but hello, maybe they live in a high water table area.
Mhm.
Maybe they have, maybe the gutters aren't diverting. That's a huge issue. If
Oh,
you don't have gutters or you don't have the gutters
big
diverting
time.
away from the house,
Yep, that's a problem.
that's a problem.
Big
That
problem.
is a problem. I don't care where it is. You gotta have some sort of you gotta have that water directed somewhere. Otherwise, guess what? It just sits around your foundation. Oh,
You're in
right.
trouble.
Foundation is porous.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they have a bulkhead or a basement door that's not properly weather sealed. I don't know. Like where you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not enough. We need to do some investigation here. Where's the
Yeah.
water coming from and why is it coming in?
Yep. Yep. That's true.
And
But
attack the
yeah, we don't
problem
know.
that way. Then you can worry about fixing the things that were damaged and
Yep.
future prevention. I mean, you know, is the furnace up on blocks? That's another thing that you look out for. Like if
Uh-huh.
you have utilities and everything else that
Yep.
when you go in the basement and the furnace, and the hot water heater in your laundry, if it's in the basement, if that's up on cinder blocks or a pallet or whatnot,
Mhm.
and if it's up on a pallet, does the pallet have water damage?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
But usually they put them on, like, cinder blocks or something, and it's like, the only reason you put it up on cinder blocks is to avoid it getting wet.
Right.
That's not normal,
Right.
right? That's not typically done. So,
Yep.
clues,
All right.
clues.
Yes. All right. So do you wanna go for one more?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go all in.
This one's a little, it's a little bit of a sad story, but, anyway, maybe we can give some advice here.
Continue.
All right. Sound deck girl, here we go. Here we go. Okay.
Here for your
House
entertainment.
I know. I appreciate you. House buying nightmare. I filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy in 2020. Um, I've been great at making payments, missed one due to a surgery for my husband. We wanted to upgrade our house, got permission from the trustee to sell/buy our house. Found a buyer for our house, and it was contingent on us finding suitable housing. We found a house, signed an agreement, and had a date to close on April 25th. Today, after being told our financing would be okay, it got declined in underwriting. So can't purchase a new house, even though we are caught up now due to not having 12 months of on time payments. We told the realtor today, and he said we are too far in the process and we'll probably still have to sell our house. If we don't, we could be sued. I don't know if he is saying this to protect his own commission or if he means it. He was pushy for us to get back in the market after we wanted to wait by saying there was someone who wanted to put an offer in on our house when it wasn't on the market, and suddenly turned into get your house ready, it's going on the market. And the guy never put an offer in. So I think he's just worried about his commission. I know I'm on the hook for some things. I just want to know if I can back out since I wasn't able to secure a house myself. I have a toddler and my husband and don't know what to do if we'd be homeless. Okay.
Okay, back up. Back up, back up. So, um, tell me again on the so they have a condition, they have a contingency to find suitable housing,
Yep.
and then read me back that part again, because I just want to make sure I hear it correctly, because they have I'm a little confused on the events here.
Okay, so they filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy,
Yep.
right? They wanted to upgrade the house. They got permission from the trustee. So I'm assuming
Trust. Yep.
right? Okay, to sell buy our house. Found a buyer, and it was contingent on us finding suitable housing. So here's
Okay.
the thing: if they got declined on the mortgage, they have
Right.
every
Well, tell
right to.
me. Right. Tell me this rest of the story after that. Like,
Okay, sorry.
summarize. Yeah.
All right. So they found the house, they signed an agreement, they had a date to close April 25th. They were told that they were told financing would be okay, but then it got declined in underwriting. So they can't get the
Yep.
mortgage. So right there, if they can't get the mortgage to buy the house, they can
Right.
absolutely back out of the contract, the sale of their house.
Right. The agent. Go. Tell me what happened next,
So
because
the
that's actually
agent, okay, the agent, they told the realtor they didn't get the mortgage. They can't they have to like back out of the sale of their house. And the realtor is saying that they're too far in the process and will probably still have to sell the house. If they don't, they could be sued.
okay.
And he
You
then
know
is
what?
saying, I don't know if
Okay.
he's saying this to protect his commission or if he means it.
Okay.
So yeah,
I know what's going on here. All right.
tell me what's
All
going
right.
on, Jen?
So, okay. All right. Oh, I got a bunch of thoughts. Okay. So, when you make an agreement with a suitable housing contingency,
Yep.
there's an end date to that contingency.
Right.
So it's not, we're agreeing to this offer, and the offer is we're going to close in 45 days,
Right.
and we have 45 days to find suitable housing. That wouldn't be fair to the buyer, right? So
Hmm.
typically, the seller and the buyer agree on a window of time for the seller to find suitable housing. And that way, if the seller doesn't get suitable housing, then the buyer can start again and isn't just wasting money on inspections and appraisals and all the
Right.
things. Usually it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's whatever, it's a reasonable amount of time. It is not the entire closing period.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's just say for discussion, it was set at 3 weeks. Well,
Okay.
they find the house, they negotiate, they start the process, they do the financing, maybe they do an appraisal, and then they find out that they are declined. That in itself, you I can almost guarantee it takes longer than 3 weeks. So I
Mhm.
think is happening here is that the agent did not communicate to this person exactly, number 1, make them understand about the contingency. Number
Mhm.
2, babysit the contract. That's what our job is, to be like, "Hey, just wanna, make sure that our fiduciary responsibility is to make
Mhm.
sure that the dates are adhered to. Our job is to track the dates. Our
Right.
job is to say, "Okay, this is the closing date. I gotta remember, make sure that all the parties involved are on track to make sure we're closing on that date." Right? That's my job. My job is
Mhm.
that if that contingency date is tomorrow, I need to make sure that my client knows that they have until tomorrow to back out. After tomorrow, it's green light, do not pass go. That's it. That's my job. I don't think he
Mhm.
did that. I think that that date came and went. The agent probably did that on purpose because he wants his damn check.
Yep.
He wants to force these people into a corner, and I say that like he's a force these people. He likely, like most agents, they don't give a crap really
No.
about it's just they don't care about the people. They're not about forcing the person into the corner. They just want to, like, what's the thing that I can do to make sure that I get paid?
Yep.
What's the thing that, and I don't want to have, and then you stir in for flavoring the fact that he's just crappy at his job, so he's not gonna follow up with the dates. He's
Right.
not gonna follow up with the dates. That's up to the client to figure out. Okay.
Right.
So, I think the agent is probably right, too far in the process. They're not gonna get sued. The buyer's not gonna sue them. It would
No.
cost more money to sue them, but they'll lose the deposit. They're gonna lose, well, what will the seller lose? Actually, the seller's not gonna lose anything, because if
Seller's
they
not
back
gonna lose
out of
anything.
their
No.
purchase, they can back out of their purchase
Yeah.
based on financing,
Yep.
okay? That means they get their deposit back,
Yep.
okay? They can turn around to the buyer, and it is a quite honestly, is a shitty thing to do,
Mhm.
but it is what it is. I mean, when you're backed into a corner, then what other option do you have? They were not properly informed that they had a small window. They did not, for whatever reason. And it could be that maybe the agent did. I mean, there's always two sides of a story, right?
Yep.
That, and they're choosing to not, remember it or whatever. But the buyer of their house is going to get the short end of the stick because they
Mhm.
can back out. They can absolutely get back out. But can we just do a couple, can I do a couple sidebars on this?
Go right ahead.
They filed Chapter 13,
Mhm.
2020, okay? What the hell are they doing buying another house? Are you freaking kidding me? They don't
I know.
deserve to buy another house right now.
I know.
Number 1,
I know.
they don't have 12 months of on-time payments. I'm sorry, Jackie. If you are filing chapter, and I don't mean to be like, rude or whatever, but I'm sorry. There are a lot of people that I worked my butt off to get good credit to get to where I'm at now. Like, they don't deserve to be doing this. If you can't make 12 months of online payments, I'm sorry, you are not ready to buy another house.
Nope.
And you
I know.
just filed chapter 13.
Yeah.
Okay? That's only 4 years ago, 2020. No. No, 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 no,
I
no, no.
know.
You don't get I don't know how they're buying another house, to be honest.
That's a really
How
good
the
that's a
heck are
great
they buying
question.
another house with a chapter 13? Chapter 13,
And
that sticks with you for 10 years.
I know, that's so and I was just thinking, and they were
What
told but
the
here's the thing,
hell?
I think they were misinformed by a mortgage lender or bank saying,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, yeah, you can get a loan, you can get a loan." Then it goes to underwriting, "No, you can't. No, you can't." So, the mortgage people screwed these
Oh,
people over too. Why would you
Jesus.
tell them that? I
Yeah. Yeah. No, they get this
brought
whole
this
thing
up.
is just like this is not a home buyer nightmare. This is just a this is a
Stupid mortgage people and stupid agents.
mm,
Nightmare. Like, why would you agree to that? Why would you
stupid.
agree to take first of all,
This
why
is
that
you know what? They're yeah, okay. Yeah, they get this is dripping with stupidity, this whole thing.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I just I see I have seen it myself. I've seen home, buyers that homes I mean, during the crash of 06, 07, and I saw hardworking people that got underwater, lost their jobs,
Mm,
and had no choice but to
yeah.
file Chapter 13 and then fight tooth and nail. Excuse me. Uh, Came out of nowhere. Uh, and fought tooth and nail to rebuild their credit
Mhm.
and save money to the point where they can finally buy another house, right? No. Okay, you don't deserve to buy another house. You're gonna go rent.
Right.
You filed whatever your
You
reason for
need a bigger
filing
place, you'll
Chapter
rent it.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to you know what? And everyone has a reason. Everyone has, things happen and whatever their
Mhm.
reason, I'm not judging them for that. Whatever their story is, the story is. However, okay, now you if it, you if you're selling your house, you need to go rent for a while and save some money. But
Exactly.
that real estate agent, scumbag.
Scumbag and scumbag
Mm.
mortgage lender too. Like,
Yep.
why would you say, "Yeah, you can get one. You can totally get a loan."
What are the
No.
comments? What are the follow-up comments? I mean, this whole thing is like so like they're like, "Oh, it's a whole my nightmare. Oh, and what do I do?" It's like,
So people
"You idiot."
well,
Like,
I know.
you know?
The comments are read your contract. It's likely you can easily back out under the financial clause. The good don't trust your realtor, trust the attorney. They're saying that to speak to a real estate attorney. That's pretty much the responses that people are saying. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
brush right over the fact I can't believe that they would say publicly like, "Oh, well, we filed Chapter 13 like 4 years ago, and oh, we got financing declined because we don't have 12 months of on-time payments." Like, are you kidding me? 12 months on that's like
yeah.
bare minimum. If you can't make your like, this is not just a checkbox, people.
Mhm.
Like, you gotta get your house in order.
Yep.
You gotta get your financial like, learn how to pay your bills on time.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
not everybody gets to buy a house.
No.
Not everybody gets to buy a house. Not everybody gets to own a house. Not everybody gets to go through this because
Right.
you have to have good you gotta have, responsible money management.
Mhm. You're
Oy
so
vey.
right. You are so right, Jen.
Oh,
That's
geez.
our
This is the thing is like, and I don't know how old this person is or whatnot, but I don't know,
I know.
Jackie.
I know,
It's
Jen.
like, our parents for, the boomer generation who gets, unfairly, I think gets, they get, well, every generation gets flack for one reason or another. But I will say the one thing that they had, um, that it started with our generation, like, it definitely started slipping big time is just responsibility money management. Like,
Mhm.
they just were like, "We have a mortgage. The mortgage gets paid. We don't go on vacation till" you know what I mean? Like,
Right. They
laser focus, pay the bills, don't spend more than you earn, like,
Yep.
it
Mhm.
it's just very different now, um, and
Yeah, they
just
don't
I don't know, you know?
well,
And I bet you they have a car
mm,
payment too.
yeah, I
I
bet
bet
you. I bet you.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Oh,
don't
that's
understand. I
sad.
don't
I don't
you know,
like,
I don't know.
you feel for them, but like you said, you know, you're irresponsible. You know what I mean? You gotta take ownership of that and be accountable to that.
You gotta be
And I
accountable and, like, make some good decisions, like, why did you have, you know, lapse on your on-time payments?
well, she
Why?
said she missed one payment because the husband had surgery. I don't know how
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
she missed
okay.
one payment, but I
Mm,
yeah, because of surgery. Like,
yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either, but
My
listen,
my
I'm not trying to judge. I'm not judging,
No, I know.
but
I mean, but that's not like okay, Jackie, okay, my husband at the time, you know, this was 10 years ago, had a massive stroke. We were on
right.
vacation in Buffalo and he had a massive stroke. Okay. I was
Wow.
7 hours from home. We had 2 little, 2 little kids. No, they're not so little now. Uh, they were young, right? So that
Yep.
would have 12 and 12 and 7, 12 and 8, 12 and 7. And you know, I had to figure out how to, all the things. I had to get them back to
Mhm.
Massachusetts. I had to get the kids back. It was right before school started. I have a real estate business. It's that was self-employed. Nobody running my real estate business but me.
Right.
And
Oh my god.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
I still paid my bills. I still
Yep.
figured like it doesn't take but a couple minutes to just go online and
Yep.
pay a bill nowadays.
You're right. I don't
Do
know.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like that's not a good enough reason. Like, if
Yeah.
you say like, "Oh my god, my husband died and he had this credit card that I didn't even know." Okay. You get out of jail free card. But regular bill payment, I don't mean to be mean, but do you know what I'm saying, Jackie? Like,
I know. Listen, life happens all the time, right? Surgeries, illnesses,
life happens.
things happen. You gotta, you know, still
And
gotta pay the bills.
and you know what? Like, I had a lapse. We all have situations. We all have history. We all have
Yeah.
stories.
Yep.
Um, I have stuff happen all the time with life
Mhm.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Life is busy. There's a lot
Yep.
of stuff there's always everybody's got crosses to bear, right?
Yep.
Everybody's got stuff going on. Everybody. But
Mhm.
how is it that my credit is so great and all my bills get paid? It's not because I'm made of money, it's because I just prioritize it on a certain day of the month.
Mhm.
Or, you just say, "This is what I'm gonna do," or sometimes it's like, "I have 5 minutes. I'm just gonna do this thing real quick." But it always does. It always happens. So,
Yep.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
I
I
don't
hear
know.
you,
It's
my
put too
friend.
much importance on, I don't know. We were talking about that, like, earlier, like, feeling a feel a little old lately. Complain about the whippersnappers. Back in
Uh,
my day,
I feel like that's
I
all
watched
I
this
feel like that's
I watched
all I
this
do when I talk to my kids now. It's like, well, when I was your age, like,
when I
oh,
was your age, I'm like, "Holy
oh
crap.
my
I
god,
my freaking parents."
how did I
I was
end up
watching a
here?
TikTok this morning, and it was this lady on a rotary phone, and I'm like, "Holy crap. I had one of those in my house growing up."
Oh, yeah, remember them?
With the
Oh,
cord, like, and it was, like, the long
oh,
50-foot cord so you could sneak into the other room and talk to your friends
yep,
without your parents listening.
yep.
Yeah, I
Oh,
had
yeah,
one of
remember those days.
those. Yeah,
The
but
good
it's just
old
like,
days, Jen.
I don't know. I don't know. These kids these days,
These kids, they have no idea.
they
Anyway,
really don't. And I feel like all that stuff that those at the time, like, we didn't know what we didn't know. It wasn't like there was iPhones and we didn't have them. No,
yep,
the technology, like, it didn't exist, so we weren't less than.
right,
There's technology that will be existing in 20 years from now that we're like, "Well, we don't know about it," so
yep,
I'm not moping around going, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait until I don't have to do any housework because there will be robots that do it for me. Oh my God, I can't wait for that day. Like, no, it's like, it doesn't exist. It's not even thought of or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you just got to do the thing.
I
You just do
know.
the thing.
Nothing you can do.
And I don't know, like, I don't know. It's a whole lot of belly aching.
Yep. Anyway, my friend.
Anyhow, what a way to end a podcast. If you're listening to this podcast and you are a early Gen Xer or millennial or Gen Z, and we have offended you, we are sorry
Yes.
because
Don't
you're
be
not
sorry.
all the
No,
same. I know a
we're
lot
not
of
generalizing. No, we're not.
no. My millennial daughter is like the hardest working kid I know.
Yeah. See?
So
Yep.
like, and her friends the same thing. So I don't want to generalize because they're
No.
not allowed. Right? Thank God.
Okay.
Well,
All
that was
right.
good. That
There-
was
Another
I
good
think
one.
we-
Let's hope our 2 listeners appreciate this week's edition.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? You know what? Before we sign off on that, I actually just please stand by. I want to do something. I completely forgot to cue it up here. That I wanted to say that Anara, ANARA 5570 on YouTube. Thank you so much. Miriam Seed 188463. Good grief, my eyesight. Thank you so much. LHDEV21. You're awesome. These are just a few. I just want to say thank
Oh.
you because you guys like comment on the YouTube channel and you support the show and
Yep.
appreciate our dumb jokes and all the things.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you guys.
Yes, we so appreciate you. This is
Like having you along for the ride.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
Jen.
hey, Jackie.
Hey, Jen.
You know what? I think when you just say the message like, "Hey, be nice to each other." We got a pretty chaotic something going on with politics and stuff. Something I heard. I don't know, but it's making people a little grumpy. A little grumpy. So,
Yeah.
so let's just be nice to people. And you know what, guys? Can we just like not be judgmental of each other? It doesn't matter. Who you vote for. It doesn't matter. Like we're all just in this together.
Yep.
Right? And just try to understand, seek to understand, you know, other people and be kind.
Yes. Amen.
Righto, Jackie-O.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
Have a good one.
See ya.